Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kirstinmorabito. If you're new, glad you're here. This is actually part 2 of my 2-part breastfeeding series. If you didn't see part 1, click up here after this video to watch that. It doesn't matter which order you're watching this in, but that video, part 1, was my 8 must-have breastfeeding essential products to have. And part 2 is going to be things to know and prepare yourself for that they don't really tell you about. So make sure to subscribe, check out video number 1, and let's jump right into this video. Foremost, I want to say never be embarrassed to ask for help. It is a scary thing and you have no idea what you're doing. I always recommend have the lactation consultant come to your room in the hospital. Even if you think you're okay, have them watch you nurse, have them give you tips and tricks and stuff like that. They know what they're talking about and they can help spot a problem from the very beginning. If you're having troubles after you get home, go see one. A lot of times insurance will cover it, and if not, maybe cover half or whatever, but it's well worth it because if you want to have a successful breastfeeding journey, getting help is key in that process. I'm going to have linked down in the description box a website that will locate your nearest lactation consultant for you. Another thing is taking a breastfeeding class before you have your baby. So I did this at my local, I want to say it was Babies R Us at the time. They offered free classes and I went to one. And I just remember feeling very empowered and I loved the class because I had no idea anything. And it was very informative. However, there's just a lot of things that they don't talk about. I want to give you the rawest, realist, honest information that's going to help you. So number 1, it's a full-time job. It is from morning until night, around the clock, sometimes every hour. And it can be a lot emotionally, physically, the whole 9 yards. It's just a lot. It's a full-time job. That's why I always praise working moms who are working an actual full-time job and pumping to provide their babies with breast milk. It's just incredible because it's a full-time job in its own, especially pumping. No one really tells you how it affects you. There's somebody on you, touching you 24 hours a day basically, especially if you co-sleep, like it really can mess with your head and make you full of anxiety and make you anxious, and it can make you sometimes go crazy. If we're just being honest here, it's just a lot and I want you to know that it is worth it. It's a beautiful thing, but I'm not gonna lie and tell you it's not hard and it's not emotional and it's not like an all-day thing. It's a lot. It's a lot. And this goes into number 2. Start introducing a bottle right away. Now, hospitals are going to say if you're going to breastfeed, don't introduce a bottle or pacifier right away because it might create nipple confusion. Both my kids had no problem taking pacifier from the second they got out of the womb, so it's up to you on that. I would definitely introduce a bottle with breast milk or formula, whatever you want, within the first week at least, and start giving them a bottle at least 1 time a day so that way that they are comfortable taking a bottle and breast. I made the mistake with both my children to not do that. We introduced bottles right away and then just fell off, and I just only exclusively breastfed. And that was because it was so much easier for me. I'm home all day. It's much easier to put a baby on my breast than to go make a bottle. And when my husband would get home from work, it's kind of the same thing. It's just easier for me to do it. It's already warm, it's ready to go. And so we lacked in that, and it had a huge effect on my kids later on when for babysitters and trips and stuff like that, they didn't want any bottle. So definitely introduce a bottle right away. Number 3 is something that I did talk about in video number 1, so make sure to watch that. But I want to talk about the pain. It is very painful. From when your milk first comes in and how engorged and painful and hot your breasts get, that alone is hard. Then it goes into your nipples. Your breasts are not used to something sucking on them all the time, and so your nipples can get very raw and chapped and even bleed. And that's something to get over. So then you think you get over that pain, and then your baby gets teeth, and then they start biting you, and it's a whole other aspect of pain. And it just seems like it never stops. And so it does get better, it does get easier. I want you to be aware and prepared for how painful it actually can be. So make sure to watch my series number 1 because I give a lot of helpful products that really help out with that pain. Okay, number 4 is your breasts are going to leak a lot. I was not prepared for how often, like you're gonna be wet. Like, I know this is so TMI and like it's gross, but it's so true. And I wasn't prepared for that. And I feel like, I remember my sister-in-law and I talking about this, and like how you always feel like you smell like milk. And it's true. You're gonna have a letdown on both sides every couple hours when your body's like, hey, it's time to feed. Like if you're out in public and you at a grocery store without your baby, and it's time when your body's ready to feed that baby, your breast will have a letdown, and milk's coming out of there whether you like it or not, whether baby's there or not. And so if you don't have breastfeeds in your bra's getting soaked. If you're not wearing a bra for whatever reason, your shirt is leaking through. You know, in the middle of the night, it's just like, ew, it's a lot and it's gross. And I personally that's one of my like least favorite parts about breastfeeding is like all the leaking and milk stained stuff. And but I honestly was not prepared for that. In my lactation class, like no one really talked about that. And so yeah, it's kind of gross. Okay, number 5 is cluster feeding is normal. Night feeding is normal. Breastfed babies feed more often than a formula-fed baby. It is a scientific known fact. Their bodies digest it faster, which means they're going to be hungrier faster. So if a formula-fed baby is eating at normal every 3 to 4 hours, it's not uncommon for a breastfed baby to be hungry every 1 to 2 hours. My daughter would literally eat every hour until she was like 4 months old. And I'm like, am I producing enough milk? You know, this is not normal, da 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 da. It seemed like the doctors were like, well, I mean, you can introduce formula too. Maybe she's not getting enough, but she was gaining weight. You guys, she was fine. She was hungry. I would feed her every hour. That was normal. Cluster feeding is normal. They go through growth spurts. It's normal. The thing you need to go by is their wet diapers and if they're gaining weight. Then you're producing enough milk, okay? So, cluster feeding is normal. Don't let anyone tell you differently that you're feeding them too much, da da da. Or here's another one, is night feedings. Like I said, breastfed babies are going to wake up more often than a formula-fed baby because they're hungrier. It's a very normal thing for your babies to wake up after 6 to 8 weeks old through the night to eat. There's nothing wrong with your baby. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not being an overprotective mother, okay? It's normal to cluster feed and it's normal to night feed. Everyone is going to have an opinion and something to say about you breastfeeding. Everyone. Family, friends, everyone has an opinion. What I'm going to tell you is you are the mother. You make the choices. It does not matter what anyone else has to think or say to you about your breastfeeding journey. You are the mom. You need to learn to have a voice and to stand up for yourself and to stand up for your baby. So a lot of times you will hear people say, you know, have an opinion about you maybe nursing in public. Someone might have an opinion about how often you feed your baby. I don't know how many times I've gotten someone be like, didn't you just feed them? Yeah, I did. So, or a common one is, how long are you going to do that for? Really? Does it matter? It's not your body. It's not your boobs. So what does it matter to you? You are the mom. You get to choose how long you breastfeed for. You get to choose where you breastfeed at. You get to choose how long and how often you nurse your child. It's your choice. Have a voice, stand up, be confident in yourself, and don't listen to opinions of others. Okay, next one's a little deep, and that is, it's a very isolating, alone feeling. So what I mean by this is, I wish I would have known how it was going to affect me emotionally. Now, let me just like preface and say, I love breastfeeding my children. I would never trade this for anything. It's as hard as it is, it's even more beautiful and more empowering as a woman, and I'm tearing up. Oh my gosh, what is wrong with me? I have never felt like more proud of myself or my body than when it comes to breastfeeding. It is, unless you have breastfed a baby and had a good experience, like, you don't know that bonding when you're looking down at your baby and realizing that your body is producing milk that is meeting their every single need and giving them antibodies that is helping to prevent them from getting sick or healing their sickness. It's like, it's mind-blowing, and it just showcases God's love for his children and his amazing, miraculous ways. Now we're getting into religious, but it's a beautiful thing. But it's also very hard and it's very emotional, and I don't think I have cried more in the entire like pregnancy, labor, delivery. I've shed more tears over breastfeeding than all of that combined, because it is isolating. It is an alone feeling sometimes when your baby only wants you, when your baby is attached to you all the time. It can get very emotional. Something that I really want to like make focus is when you're at family functions, when you're at parties, when you're in public, you miss out on a lot, because the world's not stopping for you and that baby. When that baby needs to feed, and this happens a lot, all of a sudden it's time to eat at a party and boom, baby needs to eat. And so you get left out and no one's waiting for you to eat. So, well, maybe they are, I don't know. But I'm just saying, like, then you gotta go in another room or get your cover out or whatever it is and go feed that baby for, hey, if it's a newborn, you might be feeding that baby for 25, 30 minutes. So next thing you know, your food's cold. And, or just things like that where you do get left out and you get isolated to another room, and it's lonely, very emotional. Your hormones after pregnancy are crazy too, especially if you're a nursing mom. Your hormones are still wonky until you're done breastfeeding. So be very aware of your emotional state, your mental state. There's a lot of natural remedies out there to help you. Like I said in other videos, I take CBD oil to kind of help with that. I think it's like a miracle worker? No, but it does help to mellow me out some days. I've seen a lot of different postpartum teas out there to help with your emotions and stuff like that. So really, if you are struggling, don't be afraid to go talk to somebody and find the help and resources that you need for that. But just prepare yourself for feeling alone and isolated. And I know that's like probably like, oh gosh, I don't think I want to do this. But I'm telling you right now, it's way more beautiful and beneficial than it is bad. Okay, we are on to the last and final thing I want you guys to know. And this has to do with postpartum weight. So you probably have heard breastfeeding loses a bunch of calories and you will lose the baby weight faster with nursing. And I want to tell you, it's somewhat true and sometimes not true. It really depends on your body, your metabolism, and all of that combined. So yes, you are losing calories. Now, I'm not a dietitian or a nutritionist or anything like that, so take this with a grain of salt, but you are losing extra calories, yay. But your body needs a lot of calories, a lot of healthy fat, a lot of carbs actually, to produce that milk. And your body is actually holding onto fat for storage to produce that milk. So some women lose weight real fast with nursing, and others, they actually either gain weight or they can't lose the baby weight because their body's holding onto that fat. For me, I talked about this in my Q&A video. I will link that above. Click on that and watch that after too. And I talked about how I really lost the weight about 5 months postpartum, for whatever reason. When you're dieting and trying to lose the baby weight, you would be very, very, very careful when it comes to working out in your diet. So when you do any type of drastic change, it can really affect your milk supply. So for me, I was gonna do no carb. And I went, I wanna say 1 full day with not one carb. And I'm talking carb as in bread, pasta, rice, quinoa, like all of those kind of things. I didn't have 1 ounce of it. The next day, my body literally had almost no milk at all. I'm not kidding. It was the weirdest thing. And I'm like, why do I have no milk today? And I realized it was because I didn't have any carbs. So I looked it up online, and yes, not having carbs is actually going to affect your milk supply. Your body needs carbs. Woohoo! You need carbs. I know. When else in your life do you need carbs? I've also heard a lot of women say when they introduce a lot of cardio into their workout routine that they lost their supply as well. I know you want to lose the baby weight fast after having the baby, but give yourself grace, give yourself time, and just take it day by day. It'll come off eventually. And that is it, you guys. Those are just some little things that I wanted to share with you guys to hopefully prepare your heart for your breastfeeding journey. It can be scary, like I said. It can be very emotional, painful. there's a lot of things that they don't tell you about. And so I just wanted to be really honest and upfront with you so that you are prepared. But overall, breastfeeding is so amazing. It's so worth it. I promise you, it's so much better than it is bad. So thank you guys for watching. I hope this helped in any type of way, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.
We've been walking down this road sometime, and you love